Pivoting begins when numbers whisper discomfort before they ever scream. Many founders sense something is wrong long before they admit it out loud. Customer feedback often tells a different story than our original plans.
A pivot rarely starts with confidence. It starts with uncertainty.
Letting go of the first idea can feel like erasing months of belief.
Financial pressure often forces clarity faster than inspiration ever could.
Data doesn't judge, but it does demand attention.
Learning again is part of admitting the first approach failed.
Doubt grows loud in quiet spaces where no team is watching.
A pivot starts on paper before it ever reaches the market.
Stepping back helps founders see options hidden by routine.
New models emerge when you rethink who you truly serve. Changing revenue streams can feel riskier than staying stuck.
Watching real behavior matters more than trusting assumptions.
Listening becomes the founder's most valuable tool during transition.
A pivot reshapes priorities, not just features.
Fear often peaks right before the first decisive move.
Ending one chapter makes space for the next experiment.
Commitment turns ideas into actions and others can follow.
Pivoting isn't retreating. It's choosing a better direction.
After committing to change, every assumption deserves to be questioned again.
The mind resists change, even when logic clearly supports it.
Removing outdated plans creates room for clearer thinking.
Studying others helps founders understand where they truly stand. A pivot forces uncomfortable honesty about strengths and weaknesses. Isolation can sharpen focus or deepen doubt during transition. Explaining change clearly matters as much as deciding to change.
Transparency builds trust when direction suddenly shifts.
Observing everyday problems often reveals overlooked opportunities.
Metrics guide pivots when emotions try to take control.
Operations change quietly before products ever do.
Feedback arrives unevenly, but patterns emerge with patience.
Putting ideas on paper makes them easier to challenge. Momentum matters, even when certainty is still missing.
A pivot often changes who benefits most from your work. Progress rarely feels linear during major transitions. Early signals validate direction, not final success.
Clarity improves through repetition.
not sudden insight.
Small failures guide pivots more accurately than big wins.
By now, the pivot feels less like panic and more like intention. Clarity often arrives when focus shifts from ideas to small, testable actions.
A mindset shift turns uncertainty into something workable.
Short cycles reduce fear by limiting how much can go wrong.
Confidence grows subtly once direction feels intentional again.
Focus replaces ambition when resources are finally respected.
Simplification is often the clearest sign of real understanding.
Waiting becomes easier when progress is measurable. Consistent effort replaces frantic searching during this phase. Ideas are refined while moving through ordinary life.
Patterns begin to confirm what intuition only suspected.
Monetization decisions become clearer with sharper value definition.
Old frameworks matter less once reality provides better answers.
Re-engaging socially signals renewed internal alignment.
Clear flow replaces complex theory in the new model.
Calm decision-making often means the pivot is settling in.
Execution now feels deliberate rather than desperate.
Timelines return once direction stops changing daily.
Reflection confirms the pivot was necessary, not accidental.
Subtraction strengthens focus more than adding features ever did. The business now moves with intention instead of resistance.
Execution begins quietly, without announcements or dramatic milestones.
Progress feels slower, but each step now serves a clear purpose.
Daily routines stabilize when the business model stops shifting.
Thinking becomes practical, focused on actions instead of possibilities.
Momentum builds through small, repeatable wins.
Consistency matters more than intensity during execution.
Direct conversations replace broad assumptions about the market.
Isn't an entry-full adult. Experience design becomes clearer once the core problem is defined.
Early traction appears quietly, without celebration.
Planning becomes realistic when ambition matches capacity.
Confidence now comes from evidence, not hope.
Fewer metrics provide clearer signals during growth.
Reflection turns daily effort into long-term learning.
Alignment keeps execution from drifting off course.
Patience becomes a strategic advantage during this phase.
Letting go remains part of moving forward.
Repetition builds confidence without drawing attention.
Shipping small improvements keeps trust intact.
Execution now feels sustainable, not exhausting.
Lessons emerge when action repeats often enough to reveal patterns.
Looking back shows how far the business has quietly shifted.
Improvement matters more than absolute numbers at this stage.
Timing often teaches patience better than any advisor.
Customers explain the pivot more clearly than pitch decks ever could.
Process replaces urgency once direction stabilizes.
The founder's role shifts from firefighting to guiding.
Compression of knowledge signals real understanding.
Trust grows when systems work without constant oversight.
Not every day needs expansion. Some days need confirmation.
Anxiety fades as predictability replaces chaos.
Perspective changes once survival is no longer the main concern.
Documenting lessons prevents repeating old mistakes.
Experience teaches when to move and when to wait.
Sustainability becomes part of the business model itself.
Refinement continues long after the pivot is declared complete. Stillness helps separate lasting lessons from temporary wins.
Closure on one phase prepares the mind for what's next.
The business now reflects its founder's hard-earned clarity.
Lessons from the pivot become the foundation for future decisions.
With distance, the pivot becomes a chapter, not the whole story.
Long-term thinking returns once survival pressure fades away.
The business now moves at its own deliberate pace.
Vision grows clearer when grounded in lived experience.
Direction matters more than speed over the long run.
First idea served its purpose by leading here. Perspective widens once attachment to outcomes loosens.
Planning now balances ambition with realism.
The business finally fits the founder's way of working.
Knowing when to stop adjusting is part of maturity.
Stability creates space for creativity to return naturally.
Each phase ends by naming the next one.
Experience now guides decisions more than theory ever did.
Growth feels quieter when systems do the work. The pivot reshaped not just the business, but the builder.
Reflection marks the end of one long experiment.
What comes next feels chosen, not forced. Fear no longer shapes the daily agenda.
The future opens once lessons are fully integrated.
Pivoting was never the goal. Building something enduring was.